We interrupt this program to bring you an important Wayfair message. Wayfair's got style tips for every home. This is Styles McKenzie helping you make those rooms sing. Today's style tip. When it comes to making a statement, treat bold patterns like neutrals. Go wild, like an untamed animal print area rug under a rustic farmhouse table from Wayfair.com. Arr, fierce. This has been your Wayfair style tip to keep those interiors superior.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
Hi, welcome to Someone Else's Movie, the original podcast where an actor, writer, director, or nebulous industry figure gives a little love to a movie they didn't make. I'm Norm Wilner. I'm a consultant, critic, and programmer in Toronto, and this is the other thing I do. My guest this week is Chloe Robichaud, a writer and director whose credits include Sarah Prefers to Run, Boundaries, and Days of Happiness, which I had the pleasure of premiering at TIFF in 2023. Her latest is Two Women, which stars Corinne Gontier-Hinman and Laurence Leboeuf in a very contemporary reworking of Claude Fournier's 1970 sex farce Deux Femmes en Or, playing neighbors who distract themselves from their frustrating home lives by setting out to seduce any man who visits their condo. It's on screens now in Toronto and Montreal and expands to Vancouver on Friday, and you should see it. Chloe picked Jean-Marc Vallee's Cafe de Flore, the 2011 drama that might be his masterpiece, which is really saying something considering his other films are Crazy, The Young Victoria, Dallas Buyers Club, Wild, and Demolition. But this one was special, a deeply personal and narratively complicated work that tracks two love stories, one between a Montreal DJ and his new paramour, and the other between a mother and her son in 1969 Paris. Anchored by heartfelt performances from Vanessa Paradis, Kevin Perron, and Evelyn Brochu, and edited with the frenzied grace of a glorious DJ set, it's the film I return to most often since we lost Jean-Marc in 2021 at the age of 58, which was far too early. This is Someone Else's Movie.
Well, I was thinking I wanted to maybe find also a Canadian filmmaker, but Cafe de Flore stayed with me for many years. I remember when I saw it in the theaters, I was just so surprised by it, by Vallee's sense of, I don't know, even spirituality. And we don't approach that really in films, and the way he did it, and in such a personal way too. I thought it was very courageous film. So that stayed with me, and that was even an inspiration when I did Days of Happiness. It's different film, but that courage of speaking about a bit of yourself, because Days of Happiness have some personal, resonance for me. So Cafe Flore was always in mind, and I love Jean-Marc Vallee. Yeah, he was an amazing filmmaker, and when you see his film, there's so much freedom into the way he directs actors and the way he edits his film. I think it's inspirational in that sense.
Yeah, I really am. Every time I go back to one of his films, I'm in awe of the way that he makes it look so easy.
Yeah, I know, but it must have been so difficult because there's just so much details into it.
Yeah, emotional, textural. We talked about Cafe de Flore when it was at TIFF that year, and he said that 90% of it is pretty much exactly what he wanted to do. Just that the life of it is so convincing that you believe he caught half of it on the fly, that so much of it is simply invented in the moment.
Yeah.
But it was almost all there.
Oh yeah, that's interesting to know. Yeah, it's just so organic. And it's the film that was probably the hardest to do in that sense, because you have these two different contexts and families, and not even the same continent, and it's hard to blend these two stories together. That's why I was also saying that he was courageous, because that was not easy to do. But he was the master also of the editing. He was a great editor.
Yeah.
He would, the way he cuts, through emotion. Actually, emotion was his reason to cut. And I don't think I've seen that a lot in these last few years.
Well, he had said that after The Young Victoria, he wanted to do something more experimental and independent, that, one for them, one for me kind of thing, where he just wanted to go back and make something that he could edit himself and tell the story through music. And it's funny. It's one of those projects that I don't think would have been possible even 10 years earlier. You really needed digital editing to reach the point where he could keep up with his instincts and the way he cuts. He
Right.
mixes the stories like a DJ, which he was, right?
Yeah, he loved music so much. It's a partition. It's just a partition, and he's editing just like a symphony, and just connecting the music with the emotion. And again, maybe it was an inspiration for Days of Happiness, for me to really trying to connect as he did with what I was listening to, and just trying to do the right camera movements, connecting with the music. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's I'm trying to figure out exactly how to phrase it. He does orchestrate. I don't think he conducts in the same way that we think of conducting, right? As directors conduct actors and the technical package. He manages to let each instrument work on its own and let us appreciate all of it. There's this tiny reserve, and I think it's from the structure in this case, because we are trying to figure out what the two stories have to do with each other as an audience. The way the two stories rhyme with each other and bounce off of each other and are ultimately not the same story. They are, but they're not. And the tiniest deviations are the things that we are being trained to look for. We're like listening for a piccolo. You're forced to pay so much attention because it comes at you so hard. But it's also, in retrospect, I think about Vallee's films and how they almost all have crescendos, emotional as well as musical.
Yeah.
And this film isn't quite doing that. It's on the build. It's always about to have something big happen, but then it never does. You're just forced to listen and be quiet with the movie, and it's remarkable. The frenzy is all happening in the framing sequence with one character on an airplane, which pays off in a really horrible, terrible way. A friend of mine, a colleague, missed it. He left the potential spoilers for Cafe de Flore to people who aren't familiar with the film, but there is a shot at the very end of the movie that changes literally everything about the way you've experienced it. And Chris got up and left because he had to take a call and he thought the movie was over. Came back and said, "What did I miss?" And it's like, well,
the whole point of the film.
Yeah, the cycle.
Cycle, yeah.
But the ambition to do it and to, I mean, I asked you this on stage, like, when did you know you had the project? When did you know this thing could work? And everybody's answer is always different. But with Vallee, he said that it was just the story that had to tell itself, that this is where it had to go.
Yeah, I'm not surprised he said that, because you can feel it when you see the film. Like, it's like a flow. I know he had to think a lot about the structure, because it's like I said, very difficult film in terms of how it's playing through both stories. But we can feel he was really connected to instinct, and his intuition and his own personal experiences. And we're just kind of flowing with him. And sometimes in the film, we don't know where we're going exactly, but I think we trust him. It's like, okay, I know you're taking me somewhere. I'm having an amazing time. I don't know what's happening, why. And then you have that reveal also that's just mesmerizing, and spiritual. And like I said, you don't see that much, like trying to explore the spiritual connections we have as human beings, and not talking about God or Christianity or religion. It's just the connections we have. That was really interesting and touching, actually. Yeah.
The sense that there's something more just happening outside the frame, that there's a reason that we're watching these people rather than just accompanying them through the chaos of their lives. And Vanessa Paradis, someone who, it's funny, because she spent so much time modeling, I never gave her the credit as an actor that she deserved. But I mean, I saw The Girl on the Bridge. She was incredible in that. And then here she is again, maybe 5 or 6 years, maybe even 10 years later. And she's just,
oh yeah, she's breathtaking. Yeah, she's just so, there's so much sincerity. But that's the same with Hélène Florent. She's an actress that I just loved. And they're just in the present moment. You don't see the actor thinking, it's just they're just here. And I think that was one of his strongest quality from what I've heard, that Jean-Marc could just bring so much present moment to everyone, like to be here in that scene and forget about the technical details of it and just trying to be as sincere as possible. Even, in Big Little Lies, there were no lighting equipment. I think he started that in Dallas Buyers Club. It was just about the actors, about trying to get the emotion, and let's forget about technical details and just focus on the emotion. And that what I think brought amazing performances in Cafe de Flore. Yeah.
I agree. He, even as an interview subject, he had this incredible ability to focus on the moment. He would treat, I mean, everybody said this that ever worked with him that I ever spoke to, is like he could give you his full attention in the middle of this chaotic space. Laura Dern had nothing but praise for him in Wild, and her character is constantly operating at a high level of anxiety or panic or terror or pain. And she said he just made it quiet for her.
Wow, I
That
love
was
that.
how it worked.
I love the sentence that you just to give full attention into chaos. Because it's our job as director to try to give that to our team, the actors. It's not always easy to do because it is chaos sometimes. There's a lot of people on set and everybody has question, and there's a lot of stressors. You want to finish on time, and your producer is talking about the budget and we're over budget, and you all this, but you have to focus when you say action. You have to be looking at the frame and just forget about everything. And it's not always easy to do. So it's a good reminder. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he was a spectacularly grounded person for someone who had as much going on in his head, I think, as at any given moment.
Oh, for
And
sure. But you can feel also his love for cinema through all of his work. He's just passionate. You I don't know how to explain it. Sometimes it's just mysterious, but you can tell when someone is just in love with the medium of cinema. Um, I don't know. There's a lot of heart in that film. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it is, for a film that is as ambitious as it is in terms of its technical aspects, the editing and the speed and the sound mixes. I don't remember the music. I remember the people. I remember the tiny moments, like just Evelyn Brochu having that revelation, and just looking at her, letting that moment happen. And you're right. It's Vallee just giving us the thing he's experiencing, which is the pleasure of watching the art. Right? He's there beholding this, and so therefore we get to behold it as well. But to not get in its own way, to tell this convoluted narrative in such a slippery and yet clear fashion, like it just reveals itself to us by coming into focus. We don't get, I mean, I suppose the very last moments, there's a big technically, I don't even know how to describe it. Editorially, there are moments that make things very clear, but we already know. That's the beauty of it, right? By the time the movie says this is what's happening, you've already felt it.
Yeah, the whole time. That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. And that's the beauty of it. And you were talking about about the rhythm, because he has some fast pace. Sometimes there's just so many cuts, playing with the music, but at the same time he's able to just slow down in the right moments when you're looking at Evelyn, or just taking the moment to just sink in and understand that, okay, this moment is precious. This moment is saying something. So that's what I loved about his film too, is how he played with rhythm, how he's always surprising us also, because you're expecting to be always on this high level rhythm, but then it slows down and it gives you another perspective on the film. Um, and I really enjoy that. I remember my first experience with the film in the theaters, and the rhythm of it really blew me away for sure.
Hey, it's Norm, interrupting my own show to bring you up to speed on Shiny Things, my newsletter about physical media, culture, and the Odd Streaming Project. Last week I wrote about Steven Soderbergh's Black Bag, Presence, The Good German, and The Informant, which were all released in 4K editions over the last month and a half, and celebrated the beautiful restorations in Shout Studios' Blaxploitation Classics Volume 1. Sign up for a 14-day free trial at shiny-things.ghost.io or find a link at the Semcast Blue Sky account. You like reading about movies? I like writing about them. Come check it out. I looked up my interview with Parody from TIFF as well, and I remembered she'd said something about the way that post-production, she said, I've got it right here, even when we did looping for the movie months after the editing, he's asking me to do different things. He just kept refining it and tweaking it. And I suppose if you're editing yourself with a mind to the music, to the rhythms of it, you're going to make sure the dialogue beats match the same way, but just the flow of that thing. Again, watching it again, it's inconceivable that one person could do this.
To do everything. And I'd be curious, I'm pretty sure I know the answer, but to know if he was putting the music on set for actors, or if he was listening to music before filming a specific scene. I'd be curious to know that. But I'm under the impression that music was really present in the whole process, and I think that's what actors really love sometimes, to just sometimes it's the structure of a filmmaking is very rigid, and to, I don't know, to make it fun sometimes through music, I think it gives another perspective on for the performances. Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he was running around with his own little boombox, just playing things for people in the corners.
I imagine him just always running with his boombox, and I met him a few times through my agent. My agent was a good friend of Jean-Marc, and at the Christmas party at my agency, Jean-Marc would always arrive and go to the DJ booth, and he would put some music for everyone, and you could tell he was happy if people were dancing. And we would. The party was on when he was there. Yeah.
I've been in the vicinity a couple of times, just moving through the spaces and realizing he was up in the booth and just thinking, of course he is.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, and I did get a quote from him about that too. It's which is fucking heartbreaking now. He had said in our interview, was that music is so much of my life. It makes me want to make films, makes me want to dream, makes me want to be alive. It makes such a difference, the music. And when you look at this film, I think it confronts the audience with how important music is in your life. How do you use music to be happy? Is it to love? Is it to tell your loved ones that you love them? And then he said his way through life is to make mixtapes. When I do a mixtape for my kids, for my friends, for my lover, I meticulously choose the tracks, and it's beautiful. And when they're alone, they think of me. And when I'm alone, I think of them. And it's like, God damn it.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I can't say I knew him, but we knew each other casually and spoke often enough. And again, when you talk to him, he gave you everything. He wasn't a cagey speaker. He really did immerse himself in the interview as much as he did in his own work. And it's just gutting that we lost him so soon.
Mm-hmm. But the fact that he said, it's making me feel alive, I think his gift was that when you see his film, you feel alive too. And that's beautiful. And I think that should be the goal of every filmmaker. People have a good time and they feel entertained after seeing a film. But if you feel like you want to share something with your loved one, or share a song, or just say, hey, let's watch this film together, I want to share something with you about it. That's the beauty of being alive. And he was very generous in that sense. Yeah.
Yeah, he couldn't wait to show you the next thing.
Mm-hmm. Right. And to share his passion. Yeah.
Yeah. We spoke about, I can't remember maybe it was for Dallas Buyers Club. We did a phone interview once, and he was about to do Big Little Lies. He was just in prep, maybe he'd finished the first half of it, and it just sounded so impossibly ambitious. He said, we're going to shoot we're shooting it like two movies. We're shooting the first three and then the last four. And it's block shooting, which is conventional now, but the idea of him just racing in there by himself with the camera to do this, he was so excited, and sounded impossible. And then you see it and it's like, oh no, that's exactly what he said he was going to do.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, he was I think also very cowboy, and you mentioned Victoria, sorry, I forgot the name.
Oh, the young Victoria.
Yeah, from what I heard, it was a hard experience in the way that there was just so much structure around it, and I think he was at his best when he could be this cowboy and just run around like you said with his camera, and I don't know about his process. Would he shot list beforehand? But you can tell sometimes that he was just there in the moment and was like, okay, no, this is the shot now, and I'm moving here and then here. Being in the present moment as a filmmaker too, and to be able to improvise and to connect on the day as the filmmaker too, and forget some time about the shot list and the all the preparation, and just be, okay, no, this is it now. How should I film it now? And you can tell that's what he did, I think. Yeah.
Oh, I agree. A parody had said that there's a moment in the film where they were shooting and she just couldn't get an exit right in a scene. She was doing exactly what she thought was right, but the camera didn't catch it or something. And he just said, just turn your head a quarter of the way towards the camera, just a tiny turn, and we'll see you. And it's like, yeah, he sees. That's it. He knows what he's looking for, and he knows what we need as an audience between the music and the edits and the people he's working with. And he crafts this thing, I don't think he never made another film like it. Maybe Demolition comes close in your immersion with the emotional, but this was so unique, and I don't think anyone else has equaled it either in its approach. Like, people have tried.
Yeah, it's so unique. You're right, and ambitious in his uniqueness, and it's 360 for me. It's like he thought about the emotion through costume, decor, music, mixing, the camera movement. Everything is about that, the being as organic as possible, being as free and connect with the emotion. That's all.
Yeah, it's remarkable. The only other film I can think of that comes close, and it's just because it has the same impact at the end, is After Sun, Charlotte Wells' film.
Right. Yeah. For that same impact. It's a slower pace, but there's that. Yeah, I can see the connection. Yeah.
Maybe it's just because there's an EDM beat behind it. But
Right.
I feel it. I feel a kinship there, which I only just now put together. So now I get to watch that again.
And they both have a magnificent cinematography. Yeah.
I've been trying to figure out, because I know we don't have a huge amount of time in this window. I've been trying to figure out a pivot to women and to see if, because there is a sense of life going on in every frame, and busyness. Apartments are stacked on top of each other and the characters are constantly interacting. You are similarly telling two different threads of stories, but they're contemporary. So that's not it. But is there something from Cafe de Flore that you've used or borrowed or relied upon, or Vallee cinema in general?
I did a lot for Days of Happiness. For Two Women, it wasn't as obvious for me, but I think Vallee cinema is always with me. Even if we're different in our filmmaking style, but the complexity of I would say of relationship that it's what all about. Also at Cafe de Flore, being in a long-term relationship, and he falls in love with someone else, and it kind of explores how it can explode for the nuclear family, and it's not easy nowadays. And there's that in Two Women too, and there's a truth in Cafe de Flore about that, and there's a lot of humanity and sensibility around those questions, and I think I kept that in mind for Two Women, how to portray the complexity of relationship. I guess maybe that's the link that we can have. Yeah
I was wondering, It seemed to me that the thrust, the last time I watched Cafe de Flore, is the idea that our lives are never truly our own, that we think we have independence and agency, but we're always being acted upon by the world around us, the needs of people in our lives, the needs of strangers, children, all the things that you don't start with, right?
Yeah.
Like you're an accumulation of all of these things. Two Women feels like it's the reverse of that, where these characters have to reclaim their lives and make their own choices.
Oh, yeah. When they start to film, they're just kind of disconnected, and it's time for them to be in their own bodies and try to take as much control as we can, because we don't have that much control in life, but at least we can just be on our own body and try to be as authentic as possible. Yeah.
That's a good out. But I also just wanted to say, when we screened it, I don't think anybody knew Sophie, or maybe they saw her name in the credits, but they didn't really understand that Sophie Elise is in it. And when she popped up, everyone was just like, you could feel it in the room. Because she's probably the most famous person now because of Yellow Jackets.
Yeah, outside of Quebec. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And of course, there were some people who knew Laurence from Transplant here. I enjoyed it so much, and it was so much fun to watch the audience watch it and have them be surprised and startled by all the choices. And how did you find your way to this project? Because it doesn't seem like one of yours, right? I mean, I know it's a remake and everything, but the way you interact with it, and we talked about it with Catherine a little bit, the way that the material has to change for the present day, and that you can't do the third act from the original because it just...
Oh, no. Right.
Was that a struggle? I mean, in the adaptation, to come up with something that worked in the present?
I think it was a struggle for Catherine, but when she approached me, it was always already like very strong on paper. So I was not afraid of that. I thought she had a really fresh take on it, and a very feminist point of view. So I wanted to be on board, and I think I wanted to be more generous with my cinema, and I always wanted to explore comedy. I was just looking for the right one to do it, and this one felt like a tone that was just for me. I when I read it, I was like, I understand it. I think I'm the right person to do it. I was just waiting for that special moment when you feel that you connect to the script, and I loved it. I had so much fun. It felt, I don't know, very comfortable, and I had a lot of liberty through the whole process. So I'm pretty sure I'll continue doing comedy after that. Yeah.
My thanks to Chloe Robichaud, whose new film Two Women is now playing in Toronto and Montreal and opens in Vancouver this Friday. Thanks also to Angie Power and Alia Stationwala. They know what they did. You can find Chloe on Instagram at Chloe Robish, all one word, CHLOEROBISH. And while the Alliance Films Blu-ray of Cafe de Flore is long out of print, you can find the film streaming on Netflix, Crave, Starz, and EC2 TV in Canada, and on Canopy and the Kino Film Collection in the US. It's also available to rent or buy on various VOD services across North America. You can find me on Blue Sky at Norm Wilner, and you can find this podcast there at Semcast, SEMcast, and on the web at someoneelsesmovie.com. The first year of the show is still available for just $20 at payhip.com/Semcast. That's the first 52 episodes of Someone Else's Movie, 41 of which aren't currently available anywhere else. And check out my newsletter, Shiny Things, at shiny-things.ghost.io. I think you'll enjoy it. Our theme song is by The Last Year. If you like it, or this show in general, please say so. Leave a review wherever you've been listening. Every little bit helps. It truly does. And check out the other shows on the Frequency Podcast Network while you're doing that. Stay safe, watch movies, get all the boosters. I'll see you next week.